Easter travellers, beware.
There's nothing worse than being late for a flight.
We've been to Paris, to Switzerland, to Istanbul, to Austria, and this is probably like the worst.
Passengers facing lengthy delays and missed flights at Sydney and Melbourne airports for a sixth day straight.
People almost backing out the front doors to the footpath.
I just don't really know what's going on.
It's been really badly managed.
They just called and said my flight's about to close.
The chaos expected to last throughout April. The issue, it's a conveyor belt of problems.
I feel bad there's only 2 staff members.
Like flight and airport staff falling ill with COVID.
We're getting absenteeism of around 20%, maybe some days in some areas up to 50%.
Qantas also flagging passenger behaviour.
Passengers are rusty in travelling as well. You know, it's happening to all of us.
I was lined up in the wrong line and I didn't realise we got how to put the bag tags on.
I don't think it's the passengers at fault that we had to line up.
A hiring crunch only adding to the woes.
We started recruiting for our security staff and for staff right across the airport back in December last year, but we just haven't been able to get enough people into the system over the last few months.
In New South Wales, staff isolation rules have been relaxed in a bid to ease the delays. Victoria is expected to follow suit.
What we're asking passengers to do is be prepared, come to the airport early, so domestic 2 hours before your flight time.
So as travellers face a chaotic Easter break, should our airlines and airports have been more prepared?
Michael Kaine is National Secretary of the Transport Workers Union and joins us now. Michael, COVID isolation rules are being relaxed for airport staff in a bid to combat the staff shortages. Do you expect to see things improve as a result?
Unfortunately, this looks like a panicked response. It seems that governments have made the choice that this is necessary. It might mean that there's a momentary spike in workers available, but the problem is that what we've seen in freight when this has happened is that in the medium to long term, you get people and more people infected and sick because, of course, isolation rules are designed to make sure that those who are most susceptible to carrying the virus are not interacting with others. So, look, it may give us a short-term spike, but the problem is that in the medium to long term, it might actually make matters worse.
Alan Joyce has said pretty simply that rusty passengers are contributing to this chaos and long delays. Do you see any truth in that?
Look, I think, again, this is a panicked response. I mean, blaming passengers is just not really what we need to do here. We need to get to the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is this, that in the middle of the pandemic, the government made a decision to deny JobKeeper to bunches of these companies that are responsible for the work that is seeing these bottlenecks now. So the security screeners, the baggage handlers, the caterers, lots of these companies were denied JobKeeper by the federal government because their ultimate holding company was in another country. And what that meant was that those companies had to push hundreds of workers out the door. And we're seeing that now. We're reaping the terrible consequences of that now because the pool of workers is just too small, too anaemic, to deal with these pressures.
Surely this isn't just an issue in Australia, though, as well, Michael. We are seeing similar issues around the world too at other airports. So is some of this just purely unavoidable?
Oh, of course, some of it's unavoidable because we've got families who are eager to see each other after being locked down for so many months. But we dealt with this and we deal with it every Easter, every Christmas, pre-pandemic. And sometimes there's a short burst of concerns in terms of capacities at the airport, but never this level of sustained concern at airports. And, you know, that means that we have to look to what the underlying causes were. And that was a pool of workers that was too small because these companies were denied JobKeeper. And it's not just about having to rescan passengers. It's not about passengers being rusty. It's not about a belt being damaged. That happens all the time. What we have to do here is be truthful so that into the future we can get the recipe right.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us tonight to discuss it.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
Well, Madeline and I were both at the airport this morning. I don't know what it was like for you, Mads, but
I
for
really
me it was
enjoyed 2 or
chaos.
3 hours just getting out of the airport.
Right?
Yeah.
Was anything communicated to you? I think that was one of the big problems. And of course, with staff shortages,
Well,
you're not going to have as many people
yeah.
to communicate, right? But just a lack of anyone knowing anything that was going on.
And I just think if we can get rid of shoes, belts, iPads, phones, laptops, anything that's going to send the security off. I'm not suggesting that we should be doing nutty runs through security.
No.
But that might have made the whole transition a little bit simpler.
Yeah. Agreed.
But then you can't get into the Qantas lounge because you're not wearing your shoes.
Doesn't stop you having Krispy Kremes, and that's all that matters.
Frustrated. the frustrated customers are here, here and here.